Today on RV Game Changer, we will be speaking with Ben Hirsch, COO of Campers Inn RV, with headquarters located in Jacksonville, Florida. He, in a relatively short time, has had a tremendous impact on Campers Inn RV and the RV industry as a whole. So let's learn about this amazing innovator and find out firsthand what is new and exciting, as well as his projections for the RV industry for the coming year. At RV Game Changer, we ask a little favor. If you like what you hear today and find it helpful and beneficial to your RV experience, please subscribe, like, and comment. All comments, positive or negative, will help us know how to best serve you, our audience. Many of you may know I've been working at Campers Inn RV for the last 15 years and happy to have done so. Today, I promise to be a polite but objective RV information gatherer for you. Without any further ado, allow me to introduce you to Mr. Ben Hirsch of Campers Inn RV. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bernie, for having me on today.
All right, great. So last we spoke, you and your daughter, Avery, had just come back from North Carolina, right? You give us a little rundown of what you guys were doing out there.
Yeah, so I really want to give credit to Avery on this. So with Hurricane Helene, when it came through Florida and then up through parts of Georgia into North Carolina, obviously there was widespread devastation. They're still cleaning up in North Carolina over it. We saw what happened. So Avery got with me, some of her teachers, her mother, my wife, Lori, and basically said, hey, what if we do like some sort of food drive and we get, diapers and everything for people that need it up in North Carolina, and then maybe we fly it up there. So Avery's an aspiring pilot. I fly myself, and I'm like, yeah, that's something we could do.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Did a flyer. We got all the stuff. We made a run up there. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's great that Avery's taking after you when it comes to flying, but also more so just kind of giving back and looking for ways to help people, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Very proud.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, today is actually Halloween, and I got my trusty hat here. But what are you doing for Halloween? Oh, Darth Vader.
I'm Darth Vader for Halloween. So here in the office,
fantastic.
We have a Halloween
I'm going to be a steampunk, whatever. I don't know. I'm a little bit old to be a steampunker, but I'm doing it anyway. So when this episode is aired, it's going to be the day after Veterans Day. And first of all, I want to thank you for your service in the armed forces. You're an Army man, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. What are your thoughts as far as the RV industry, the armed services, and the people that serve the RV industry?
Yeah.
Let me back that up. I'm going to take that again. I'm going to cut that up.
Okay.
All right. So recently, the RVTI, the RV Technical Institute, has implemented a program for veterans to help them. So do you know a little bit about that, and can you share that with us?
A little bit. I mean, what's interesting about our industry is that we have a lot of employees. The industry has a lot of employees that work in the industry. A huge portion of our customer base is veterans as well.
Right.
You work in a dealership, you see people wearing the hats and all different stuff. And so it's kind of a natural for different segments of our industry, like the RV TI group, which trains our technicians to actually say, look, this is a great transition for a military member to come into the industry. So in the military, lots of skilled tradesmen working on, trucks, working on airplanes, working on different things. And it's not that hard of a transition to go from one of those jobs where you're mechanically inclined and working in the RV business. So it seems like it's a natural fit, and pretty excited about it. I think our industry is a great place for veterans to work.
Yeah, that brings up a good point for sure. That it is, and we do see so many veterans, and they're very proud, right? You always see, like you said, the hats, the shirts, the jackets of when they were active, and we can't do enough to thank these folks. But speaking of military, the Army Black Knights are 7-0. Can you believe that? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, hopefully by the time this comes out, they've kept the undefeated record. So
that's right. Yeah, I mean they're number one in the AAC, and Navy is right behind them at 6-1.
Yes.
So on December 14th, we got a big game coming up, and it's going to be hosted by the Army Black Knights.
Yes. Yep. So that's one of the things I look forward to every year. I really, really like the Army Navy game. I'll be going to it in DC this year, so I'm looking forward to cheering on the Black Knights.
Fantastic. Well, we wish them the best of luck. In your own words, can you tell us a little bit about why you believe that Campers Inn is a great place to work?
Sure. Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that come to mind, Bernie, and some of the ones that are like really front of mind awareness is, the vision that my grandparents had for good customer service and a good place to work is the same vision that Jeff has carried on, that I've tried to carry on, that the family's carrying on, right? There's more family members in the business.
Sure.
And so it all started with a bad customer experience that they had. They felt like they could do better. Jeff has said that story to me and to others around me many times. My dad has said it many times. I know the third generation of Hirsches, we try to talk about that story, and it resonates. So our business is here because of our belief that we can do a better job for our customers. So that's kind of the root cause. And that's grown over the years to be not just the customers as a stakeholder, but we can do a better job for people. Like, we can be a people-centered business in the RV industry. So on the service side, it's everything from how we train our technicians, our service regional, how I personally get involved with customer issues and whatnot. And there's that side of it. On the people side, we really try to develop a place where people want to work. Our core values are central to that, integrity being number one. We don't want to ask any employee to ever do anything that we wouldn't be willing to do. An example of that is our sales process as one piece of it. The rule of thumb that I use when I actually conduct training on the sales process, when we're writing the handbook, is I want to be able to send a friend or a family member through our sales process without my interference and know that they were treated fairly throughout that process. And if you can honestly say that as a business, right, you've got something good. And I feel like the same thing on the service side. So I feel like we're a people-centered business. I think that's a huge reason why, of course, we have competitive benefits, we have competitive pay, we have growth opportunities because we're a growing company. So there's all sorts of different positions that people can have over time. So yes, there's all those too, but those are true of a lot of companies that are growing and large in our industry and that are, the other big guys. But I think our unique aspect is how we take the family-oriented, the people-oriented side and mesh that into the day-to-day.
Well, that's fascinating. One thing that I've noticed over the last several years is that we have a very comprehensive human resources department led by your wife, Lori. And I love that she has an Irish name, Murphy
Maiden
in
name,
there. Yeah, so her maiden name, yeah. So, and how does Lori and the HR team help make working at Campers Inn a little bit more attractive for potential employees?
Yeah. So they do a few different things. Let's start with benefits first, right? So on the benefits side, every year we send out a benefits survey to all of our teammates, asking them about our benefits package. Like, what do you like? What don't you like? What would you like to see? And we've changed things based on those survey results. So I actually don't remember, but let's call it a few years ago, we had end of year discretionary 401k, but one of the most asked for thing was matching throughout the year. So we enacted that next year.
Yeah, thank you. Good job.
We look at things like obviously PTO, the healthcare. This year is a good year on the healthcare side. The HR team, in conjunction with benefits and the CFO, negotiated basically flat rates. I mean, there's a couple small changes here and there, but basically as a whole, it's flat rates on the premiums on the healthcare side, and that's not very common right now. And that's
especially with this day and age of inflation, right?
Exactly. And we didn't have to decrease like all the benefits. Like that's one of the ways you keep the rates there.
You didn't small size it to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. We're not making a 12-ounce bag 10 ounces. Exactly. So I'm proud of them on that side. The HR team also looks after not only the business but the employees. I mean, our rule of thumb is that if you just transparency with employees on how are you doing, How's work going? We use a system called Prodaptive to evaluate teammates, and it's basically just situational management model. So they use that, and they try to give the team the resources. And we have a recruitment side of the house. So it's just a lot there that really provides those resources to whether it's a manager at a store or employee throughout their life cycle with us.
Yeah, from my perspective, we get good feedback from our managers, and they don't just give you feedback like you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. They give you resources and techniques to help improve the situation. So you're not left in the lurch. You're not just finding out what's wrong. You're finding out, you're doing this right. You could do this a little bit better, and this is how you could possibly do that with using these strategies.
And that's our coaching model, and trying to put that into practice. And of course, a lot of our managers are learning on the job too, on the coaching model. And so then some of the coaching is for them on, I guess, how to enact that coaching business model as we go. And it all goes back to like the earlier question of what makes Campers Inn different. It's the people side. Like we're not perfect. We're never going to get it perfect, but we do try every day to be that, high integrity, teamwork oriented, continuing to improve organization.
Yeah, we really appreciate your efforts in that, for sure. The RV industry is coming up, the RVDA meeting coming up in November, which is actually, what's that, like later that week, like the 13th or 14th or something to that effect?
Right about there, yeah.
Yeah, right about there. At any rate, so right around when this show comes out. So Campers Inn has been recipient of the RVDA Awards several times. And how has Campers Inn been recognized by the peers in the RV industry?
Yeah, so at RVDA, the RV Business, which in our industry is kind of like that, one of the big publications in the business, they have an independent panel. So you have to be nominated by a non-dealer participant in the industry. We've been nominated every year, which has been great. Then that panel collects a bunch of information, and they award the top 50 dealers, and then what they call the blue ribbon. They have some special awards. And so we've been really privileged that 11 times we've been recognized as a top 50 dealer. The award's only been out 12 times, so we only missed it once.
Nice job.
And then I'm pretty sure it's 5 of those times we've been recognized as a top 5 dealer. And that's not size, right? Like that's not the size of the organization. That's really how you take care of, and there's actually a bunch of different sections, but how you take care of customers. What are you doing for innovation? Are you giving back to your communities? How do you train your employees? How do you treat your people? It's a very holistic award versus, hey, who sells the most or who services the most? It's kind of encompasses everything.
So how you do business is as important, if not more important, than how much business you do.
Yeah, for this particular award, the how is, I don't know what their grading scale is. They've never let us know in the inside of the panel, but it certainly seems like the how is the majority of the grading scale.
That's fantastic. And congratulations. I know that's a lot of effort there of, making sure that you do business in the right sort of way. Here's the thing, there are a lot of businesses that are not necessarily do business in a scrupulous sort of fashion, but we really appreciate that Campers Inn is trying to maintain a high level of integrity.
Absolutely.
All right. So the RV industry has been really prolific lately regarding innovation, whether it be new safety devices, improvement in tech capabilities, or even designs and construction techniques. But how has Campers Inn joined into the fun of creating innovation recently?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the top 50 awards, we actually, for the second time, have now won the Innovation Award from RV Business. And we've done a lot this last year on our from marketing to artificial intelligence. And so one of the things that we're really proud of that we launched mid this year and we're continuing to add to it is on the artificial intelligence side. We're working with a company called Lasso and helping build out an artificial intelligence agent we call Fran. It's a throwback to my grandmother. Okay. On our website, helps customers answer their questions, helps them find the right inventory, make sure that they're taken care of through that. We're not done. Like we're going to continue to build that out. We're going to build it out so that it can help customers not just on the sales side, but on the service side and all aspects of how they interact with us. we feel like there's a lot of innovation that needs to happen before the customer even really interacts with us via phone or in the dealership. We feel like that intake before that point could be much better as an industry, and we're proud to be one of the leaders in developing that innovation.
That's fantastic. Many times I hear you speak, you do these monthly reviews to the company and all that, and you oftentimes bring up Campers Inn being the RVer's trusted resource. What does that mean to you, and what efforts do we take as a company to ensure that?
Yeah, so the trusted resource in my mind goes back to our vision statement. So not just our values or what we're trying to do, but really our vision of being a trusted partner for our customers, trusted for our employees, for the business partners in the industry, that's manufacturers, the banks and whatnot. And so
Yeah.
Anybody that does business with us, we want them to know that we have their interest at heart as well, right? So it's not just about us and how do you maximize profits today. Obviously as a business, profit's part of it, but that's one of the stakeholders that we try to serve. But there's other stakeholders as well for really like that long-term sustainability. So to me, the trusted resource on the customer side is they should know that we've built our sales and service processes so that we would put our friends and family through it. We don't try to take advantage of anybody. When things were at their highest during COVID, we actually set caps because the market was crazy. We set caps on our pricing. We said, we don't feel good about charging over X. And I know that wasn't common. That was actually uncommon to do. And
Right.
we felt like that was the right thing to do. On the service side, every year we invest, I don't know what the numbers is, millions, tens of millions into more service operations and expanding our capacity to be able to take care of those customers. This year
And
we're
education. Yeah.
the
Education
training
is a big
side. We
part.
have, Master Tech trainer Keith. He works right at the same facility, right?
Amazing. Yeah, he's an amazing gentleman for sure.
So we just do all these different things. And then for the manufacturers, we try to be a good partner with communicating with them, having high transparency there. We try to be a good partner on the banking side with our banks. We try to be a good partner with, like I'm thinking suppliers come to mind, parts vendors, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Those distribution companies, I mean, they're getting parts in just in time kind of thing. A lot of them,
Huge.
the relationships that you have to get overnight service on a lot of these things, it's tremendous. And it's obviously based on, us being a good partner for them to want to respond and work with us.
So trusted resource to us really goes back to that vision of all of our stakeholders. And the primary focus, of course, is customers. It's where you start, but we don't end there. And that's really my answer to that question is what does it mean? It means that we want to be the place where those that are in this industry, they want to do business, no matter which end of the industry.
Well, thank you very much. That's quite a good detailed answer to that question. But, there's been a big shift, it seems. Like I've been in the company for 15 years and I've seen the customer trends change dramatically. And what are some of the things that you've seen as far as, products that people want, services people want, and the type of folks walking in the door?
Yeah, it's super interesting. And so it's funny, you mix the anecdotal information that you get from going to a show, experiencing, customer interactions, that sort of thing. And then you mix that with, we've actually done some studies and we've done some data digging and questioning a whole bunch of people that are consumers. So there's a few things that we've seen is one, there's been over the last, few decades, let's call it 10 to 15 years, there's that shift towards a younger audience. So that's been interesting. The first time buyer has been very prevalent through COVID and continues to be. Doesn't mean that the other buyers aren't there. It just means that the industry is actually expanding.
Exactly.
But they're using these things way different than what I remember growing up. Like the Class B camper van, like there's people that overland in them and they go off the grid for weeks at a time or a week at a time. And then there's people that just use it as kind of like a mode of transportation that they could sleep in if they had to. There's people that go to tailgates, there's motocross events, NASCAR events, and then your traditional camping and probably a million things that I'm not mentioning. And so the big net of customers that we serve is way bigger than it was. And we saw that through our surveys that we did, and we sent out to, I don't remember how many thousands of customers, but trying to get a statistically relevant survey sample size, right? And we found that The things that you think are super important to almost all the customers, price is still very important. Selection of inventory is still really important. How close that dealership is, like things that you naturally think. But then it's interesting as you slice it down a level into the different types. Sometimes technology matters for this particular customer segment, whereas this particular segment, there's certain options that they're looking for. So it's kind of interesting how our industry is getting bigger, but also more specific in the different areas.
It seems as though more people want to live in their RV and work in their RV and recreate in their RV, obviously, to kind of basically change the whole lifestyle. So we're getting a lot more, like you said, there's different aspects of all different usages. So it's not just going to the campground. There's still a lot of that, and there's still a lot of growth in that area, but it's much, much more. So how does all these trends start to affect the way you look at an inventory plan, for instance?
It's more complicated.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's funny because inventory planning, it's just harder, right? Because you're trying to actually make sure that you have exactly.
Woo!
So how do we do it? So we like to. It's not perfect. We like to look at our stores, especially when we have multiple stores in a market. We're actually segmenting the customer bases in that market. So, for example, in New England is a great example. We do have a lot of overlap between the Kingston and the Merrimack and the Chichester stores, our 3 New Hampshire stores. But there's no question that you can see that for those customers that are snowbirding in motorhomes down to Florida, Merrimack is more aimed at that customer base. No question.
Right.
That is always
it's amazing. Within 30 miles, the customer base is almost completely different.
So different.
Whether Kingston, Chichester, Raynham, whatever it is,
Exactly. And then like Kingston, they're very Class B camper van focused, even overland sorts of stuff. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to be like, okay, it's really hard to be everything to everybody everywhere because it's just such a big net. So what we've done is we've tried to take our strategy and say, okay, what do we want this store to be really good at? And then where do we also want to make sure that we're serving, the mass base of customers, but where the niches that are kind of growing that we want to serve. Okay, how about for this store? And then does that fit in for the whole market? So maybe it used to be easier at one point where you could just, hey, I'm going to stock the best-selling travel trailers and fifth wheels and motorhomes and call it a day, inventory plan done. There's certainly a lot more strategy that goes into it nowadays.
I can imagine, and I'm glad it's your job in you and Destiny and not mine.
Well, we're not perfect at it. We learn every year as well.
Progress, right? It changes like almost month to month, and you actually have to get real seasonal with all this stuff as well too. So you're balancing inventory based on a particular season at a particular dealership. And God bless you. Yeah, it's a little bit comes around. Yeah. So since the COVID rush, the industry has been in a bit of a softening, for the last 24 months or so. This is a reality. But what are your thoughts about the outlook for 2025? Can you feel a little bit of a trend changing?
Yeah. So I've said this to a few different industry participants that I don't know if we're exactly at the bottom, but we've got to be really close, right? If we're not at the bottom, maybe seeing a little bit of a bounce. It's really close, right? So there's been a lot of headwinds in against us the last few months, or let's say 100 days ago versus the last month. And things that come to mind is interest rates, inflation, an election year, right? Creates instability regardless of your political affiliation, right? So
we'll have a new president by the time this show is aired. So hey, who knows? It could be a whole different outlook. Yeah.
It could be, right? And so interest rates are starting to come down. Inflation seems to be under control. The consumer confidence seems to be stable, right? So there's a lot of things that I said it previously that I don't necessarily know if it's a tailwind now, going from a headwind to a tailwind, but it's at least maybe a crosswind, so we don't have to fight it as much. And that's how I feel about 25. I mean, if you're asking if I think it's going to be a slightly up, slightly down, flat year, I think it's hard to predict. I'd be surprised if it's down again. We've seen a few years of it being down from our COVID highs. The industry, so not Campers Inn, but the whole industry is off about 45% in units from those highs. So I think that you take a big rock and you throw it in a pond, right? And the big wave up is big and the wave down is big. And I think that's what we're going through is COVID was, for our industry, was a big rock in the pond, and it created a huge amount of demand because it was the perfect vacation for COVID environment. We probably pulled some demand forward, so now we're coming back, and I think it's going to smooth out. So, my thought is I think it's going to be flat to slightly up next year, but we may be surprised. It may be better than that.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about it. I can see there's so many people walking in the door that, they're waiting for the election or they're waiting for certain things to happen. And a lot of it is hesitation because of their insecurity with their personal finances, perhaps, or trends that's going on in their lives. But, I got a feeling that, the stock market has been amazingly resilient. And a lot of our customers, like the ex-gens and baby boomers who have a nest egg, they're just kind of making sure that it doesn't get deteriorated or, washed away like it did back in 2008 or 9. And then, once that sense of security comes back, the consumer index will increases. I have a feeling that we're going to get a big comeback.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be a big comeback, and it's really a matter of timing. Like, when is the industry going to see our growth rates again? And so I believe that things stabilize over time. I think that the industry's best years are still ahead. It's just a when.
So I know that Campers Inn is constantly in a state of strategizing, and which I love about Campers Inn is that even during, let's call it a weakness in the industry, that's kind of when you guys buckle down and say, okay, how do we prepare ourselves so when these increases come back, and they always do, sooner or later they do. What is Campers Inn doing right now to strategize for future potential growth?
Yeah, so we've been in strategy sessions quite a bit the last, 45 days or so, probably. I might be getting the times wrong.
Really buckling down, yeah.
Yeah, and so what we've done is we look at every single store, and then the what we call pods of stores, the region, right, the market. And we're making sure that the strategy fits for what do we think that the store structure needs to look like? What's our go-to-market strategy? Which brands are we going to be increasing? What's the inventory going to look like? Like, lots of different pieces of it fitting into our national strategy, because we actually think that the next few years are going to be growth years for our company. So as we kind of think through that, and what does it mean? So we want the organic growth, which is same store growth, because we think we're well positioned to be able to grow in the market, given where we put the inventory position, given our team. We have a really great team with lots of stability. Our regional team is fantastic.
A lot of tenure. Yeah, tons of tenure.
I'm really excited about that side. And then non-organic growth, which means, new stores, acquisitions, that sort of thing. So, some of the things we've done recently we broke ground up in Chichester, New Hampshire, to add service bays there, which will both allow us to take care of our customers better, increase service capacity. We're building a new mega store in Myrtle Beach. So
wow,
the same thing there. That's exciting. Probably in first quarter, roughly 2025, we'll be back in the Pittsburgh market after a brief stint out. So new facility. We're looking forward to that. By the time this gets released, we'll have announced our second store around the Louisville market, and that'll be first quarter 2025 as well. So that'll be a satellite store of the big store.
Fantastic.
And we got some other stuff in the works too. So us as a company, as we strategize, obviously our current operations have to be good, but we want to. Both Jeff and I talk all the time. What's the right growth? What's the strategy look like? And we want to kick the company back into growth mode because we feel like our industry's best days are still ahead.
That's fantastic. And, the things that I'm hearing kind of between the cracks of what you're saying here is that you're adding a lot more resources, not just stores for selling, but having, the service bays and having the technicians and being able to grow the way we treat our customers, to be available for them, right?
Yeah, it's not just about adding sales centers. Like Chichester and Myrtle Beach are like extraordinarily about the customer facing side of it, taking care of those customers long term. Pittsburgh will do both because it'll be a big store, lots of bays, but also a large store from a sales side. So it's a mix, right? Like we want to be able to grow our presence in the markets, take care of more customers, but take care of them, not just selling them an RV and forgetting about them, but taking care of them throughout their entire journey.
Well, that's really important, and, the RV industry inherently, requires a good amount of service to take care of these vehicles after the people have used them. So, they might have gone over a pothole and it shook something loose and a switch doesn't work or a slide gets a little out of line, but it's really important to be there as a resource. But, what are you and Jeff are in the RVDA, they really talk a lot with the manufacturers directly about improving the quality of their products and, for the end user, and maybe take a little bit of pressure off our service departments occasionally, right? Of the bigger manufacturers, which ones of those you think are doing the best work in this area?
Yeah, so I think it's hard to define the big manufacturers as one whole group, because
one manufacturer doesn't kind of operate each segment of it specifically, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so you have a lot of, and I'm gonna get their titles wrong, but product managers, general managers, super GMs within these manufacturers, and they have different business models within them. So Thor is obviously a large manufacturer, and they have Keystone and Jayco and Tiffin and Thor Motorized and Heartland. If I keep on going, I'll forget somebody, so I'm going to stop. Right? Yeah. They have all these different groups internally, and their go-to-market strategies, including how they do service, is different. Now, The good news about our industry is through RVDA, with partnership with RVIA, which is that's kind of the industry side, the manufacturing side. DA is the dealer side. There's been efforts for years going on. Jeff, when he's still on the board, and of our RVDA's RV, oh my God, one of the chairmen of one of the groups, and I'm blanking on it right now. That's horrible, but he's still on the board, and obviously that whole group is really in tune with improving what they call RECT, RECT, repair event cycle time, which really is a fancy way of saying the time out of service for an RV, and trying to shrink that down as much. And the manufacturers as a whole, the big manufacturers, have been good, working with us, working with the part suppliers, trying to get more parts on hand, because parts is really where the holdup is. You got to think these are houses on wheels, so there's so many parts and pieces in them. It's hard to have stock of everything.
And having everything available when people need it, which is it's a big task for sure.
In the industry, I think we're trying, right? And it's not an easy thing. It's far more complicated than a car or automotive. And the thing is, automotive has so much more scale, yet we have so many more parts and pieces because of it's literally like all the components of a house on a chassis. And so
with a lot less numbers, though, so it's really kind of saturated outward. So there's so many details with so many manufacturers, so many brands, so many models, and wow. But the numbers aren't that big to be able to support that kind of infrastructure all the time.
So the industry is working together, standardization of parts numbering, standardization of like not the warranty process, but kind of some of the warranty systems and whatnot, and trying to get integration with dealers and the dealership management software providers, working with us dealers, working with the manufacturers. There's a lot of pieces that are sight unseen to some of our personnel, the customers, because the industry acknowledges this is a problem, especially the parts, this repair event cycle time. It's a problem. But we are working to fix it. And we're working to fix it without a regulatory body coming in and saying you have to. We're doing it because we know it's for the better of the customer. And I know Jeff's very proud of his work over his career at RVDA. As a board of delegates member, I try to chip in when I can. But the whole RVDA is really focused on this effort and initiative.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have Jeff Hirsch at the helm of Campers Inn RV, who's someone who's so out there and in not just thinking about Campers Inn, but the RV industry as a whole. And inadvertently, it comes back to us. It comes back to us in positive results, positive action taking to make our jobs not necessarily easier, but more effective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, obviously he's a great leader. He's a great leader of not only us, but he's had a fantastic career and continues to have a fantastic career on the industry side. I know our team's very proud of him. He doesn't ever talk about it, but he's won a lot of awards in the industry for bringing people together and whatnot. And he continues to view that as like his passion is making the whole industry a better place for everybody that works in it, and then making Campers Inn kind of a really good cultural leader on that side as well.
It's amazing for someone who has that great of impact and reach. He's probably one of the most humble people I've ever met. And God bless him, and thanks for his leadership. And thank you, Ben, today for sharing all this wisdom with us. And I can't wait to present this out to our audience. I wish you a very happy Halloween. Enjoy it with your family, and then a wonderful Veterans Day as well. I know you'll be celebrating that as well. And we look forward to the updates we get from the RV Dealers Association meeting in Las Vegas.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on, Bernie. Appreciate it.
Have a great day. I just got to get my mouse here. All right.